Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei. Let's fucking finish this thing. I am so ready to be done with this Let's Play. It's been lingering in my conscience for too long. We gotta get this thing wrapped up, so let's do that now. I'm gonna record all of this back to back. And fun fact, I actually had the last batch of episodes ready to go, just fresh out of the oven. Then I looked at them, and I watched them all back, one by one, and I was like, yo, these kinda suck. And it turns out, when you're dealing with an ongoing medical crisis, you don't end up making the best video content during that time. It's not the most entertaining thing in the world when you're a little bit bummed and anxious about the status of, you know, your health and stuff like that. So I figured I would maybe delay things a bit, and I just scrapped all those, and I figured y'all deserve a better ending than the one I originally gave. So I went ahead and just did not click upload and publish on those, and instead decided to re-record these a bit later now. So I'm once again a little bit removed from this footage, so maybe we'll discover some things together. But I figured, yeah, now that I'm in a much better place emotionally, and I don't have to worry about whether or not my, like, mobility is going to be impaired for the rest of my life, I can probably be a little more entertaining recording a Let's Play for y'all. So, whew, yeah, but everything went well, and I'm back to normal, and as of 2 days ago, I'm done with physical therapy, so everything's pretty good in my life, and yeah, we might as well just enjoy our little stroll through the rotting sea of flames here. We're basically done with this area. Keep in mind that there still is that bottomless urn that we should be keeping in mind, but other than that, yeah, we're just gonna take one last little victory lap, one last stroll through this beautiful area, just taking the scenery. Once again, I just love the look of this dungeon. It's the most interesting dungeon in the game, in my opinion, just for the looks and all that. I really like the skybox here, too. I guess it's not technically really a skybox, more of a background, because this isn't really 3D in the traditional sense, but yeah. No, I'm ready to get this Let's Play, you know, done and behind me, though. Took me longer than I thought, and I think I'm still gonna need to do some work streamlining how the fuck I want to do these heavily edited playthroughs in the future, because while this one took a lot less long than my SMD1 playthrough, it still took like a good 7 months, and that's it's not great. Good, I think it's getting close to 8 months now, actually, and oof, that's long, but whatever. I got it done, and that's more important to me. I feel like, you know, I can kind of be at ease with that, especially too, because once it's all done, it's like, it's just out there and people can discover it and enjoy it, and that's good. Once again, we're back in the spinny hallway here. That's a lot of fun. I still don't get this area. It's so goofy. Oh god. Speaking of the Sea of Flames, though, it is hotter than hell here in northern Wisconsin. We actually had some pretty bad storms the past couple days. There's been flooding, trees down everywhere. I think a few people had issues with their power. It hasn't been fun. I was recording, or not recording, but I was streaming Y2K, a postmodern RPG, as part of like a goofy little playthrough project that me and my friends are doing. I don't know if you all probably, if you're watching these videos, have noticed those. Me and my friends are recording a podcast as we play through Y2K, which is a horrible indie RPG. It's a lot of fun. Well, it's actually not fun, but I mean, making fun of the game is fun, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, like halfway through, I got a call from family, and apparently just like a giant fucking tree in my cousin's lawn just completely like collapsed in the wind and went through his house, and it's just terrible. Luckily, no one was hurt, and from what it sounds like, other than to like the structure itself, like none of the belongings that were in that room seemed to take any lasting damage or anything, so it could have been a lot worse from what it sounds like. But apparently, as far as trees falling through a house go, it was the least amount of damage that one could hope to expect, so that's something. But enough about my personal life. We're 4.5 minutes in here, and we are in the last dungeon of Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei, the Infini Palace, which I don't actually know off the top of my head if that has any mythological meaning. But yeah, please enjoy this map of this entire shebang here. Look at this whole map of the demon world, all of the progress we've made, all the way from Daedalus all the way at the top of that stupid mound. We have made it quite a ways over the course of these 16 episodes. I had to look at the file name in the top of the window to remember what part we were on. So I looked up Infini Palace, and considering the fact that all of the results have to do with Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei, I have a feeling that this is just the thing they made up. So we're gonna fight a Dullahan here. One thing I should note is that a lot of the enemies in this area, well, for one thing, they like to come in large groups, especially, but that's been kind of par for the course as of late. I don't think that the enemies here are as annoying as some of the mobs that we've come up against in earlier dungeons, but at the same time, this is where I have a harsh confession to make to some degree. If you're playing through this game and you're kind of streamlining it like we are in this playthrough, or you're using a walkthrough in your own playthrough or whatever, I feel like it is a very real possibility that you get to this final dungeon here, and you start to struggle a little bit more. Because once again, I feel like I've covered this enough this episode, or in this playthrough rather, but you really do, the game is designed around the idea that you're going to get lost and you're going to accumulate a lot of experience points because you're kind of wandering about and just getting into more fights than if you were just going from point A to point B over and over again. So, if you find yourself getting to the Infini Palace and you're having a little bit of difficulty, I think that's completely normal, especially if you aren't like us and, like, have been keeping up with, you know, getting good fusion, and, if you didn't get the Hino Kagetsuchi. I actually really recommend, before you even bother with this place, I really think you should get the Hino Kagetsuchi. Honestly, as soon as you get Ruth, there's no reason not to. It's so simple to do, if you don't mind taking the trip back, but it ends up saving you so much more time in the long run that you really just should, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm still really liking our max stats here. There's a lot of treasure chests on this first floor that are of note. That magic source is a good one, but I mean, I really just grabbed that because it was so close to what is basically this town area. This one is, this dungeon is interesting. Its towns are fairly spread out, where I guess I wouldn't even say it has what you would consider a town. It's just that all of the shops and locations are just, like, far more spread out than even they were in the Sea of Flames. It maps less to a traditional town area in that way. These shrunken heads are really obnoxious, by the way. But yeah, there's just a lot of undead enemies in this area too. So Mahanman is a good idea if you have a few demons with that. Or even if you just don't mind using Yumiko's MP. But, you know, don't use up too much of her MP. It's an easy mistake to make. Our team of Sebek, Susano, Jin, and Lakshmi are, you know, they're doing the work, though, and, you know, we maybe could be doing a little bit better, party-wise, but this is serviceable for this area. We're not going to have too much trouble with the encounters here. At least not, you know, for a while yet, so, yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I might as well point out, though, like, I mean, when you do start to get more higher level and more powerful demons like Susano and Jin, even, they do really start to accrue costs, though, unfortunately. So, just keep an eye on your Magnetite. That does become more of a factor in the Infini Palace, I found through my playthroughs. Just because you are rolling with such powerful demons by this point, just to, you know, survive your fights and all that. And, you know, if you have to, just return some of your demons and, you know, feel free to grind up those Magnetite resources, again. Or even if you need to, you can go back to the Sea of Flames and grind there. If you really want to. I think that is probably, for a lot of players at this point, if they get stuck, that's probably the best course of action. Just, you know, have Nakajima and Yumiko be your only party members, and just keep grinding for that Magnetite. Might take a while, and it might not be the most fun thing in the world, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, I highly recommend that you familiarize yourself with this blue part of the dungeon. This final Infini Palace area is actually split up into two different sections. The first is the blue area here, and they have proper names. I think it might be like Blue Salon and Red Tower or something like that, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, this blue area basically has all of, like, the good treasure in the game and a bunch of different shops and, you know, like, you you know, saw earlier, like the healer, save point, Cathedral of Shadows, all that stuff is in this blue area here. Not always on the same floor, mind you, but it's in the blue area. So I just recommend that you explore this place thoroughly before you even bother with the red section. The red section is basically just the final run-up to the final boss to close out the game. So, slightly more powerful enemies there, but not that much more powerful, in my opinion. Could be worse, but yeah. Just go ahead through and, you know, get a nice clean sweep of this area. There are 4 floors to this place, so just make your way through. So that, you're gonna want to make sure you pick this up. This is actually the best helmet in the game for the heroine, and it'll save you a lot of money in the long run than getting the second best one. You can find it just by, you know, if you retrace my steps, this is in, like, the corner of the second floor here, and you just get it by teleporting over to this area. Or at least that's one way to get it. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't have the map in front of me if that's the only way to get down here. I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I just decided to take that teleport tile because it was faster. Because, yeah, we're just a little bit south now of where all that, you know, the healers were and stuff like that. That nice little row of rooms here. And now, you might have noticed on the little auto map there that there's this huge frickin' maze of rooms kind of in the western part of this second floor. So obviously we gotta take a look at that. There has to be something good in here, right? It's a shame that our auto map doesn't detect treasure chests. It'd be kind of cool if there's like a side quest or something to get like a update to kind of, you know, have stuff more like marked on the auto map. That could have been cool. Though I guess in this game, the little auto map, and I guess even in all the other SMT first-person dungeon crawlers, the auto map as we see it on the screen is actually done through a spell and not through our comp, actually. So, yeah, that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, if you go through here, you can get this treasure chest, and this is the Mist Armor, which is the best armor in the game for the hero. So we have basically got all of the best equipment in the game for the hero so far. Other than a helmet, we need to buy a better helmet for our hero. You could probably get away with not doing that, but, you know, I'm me, so we're gonna do that before this playthrough wraps up. Tragically for Yumiko, we're gonna have to do a little bit more shopping to get her best equipment, but not too bad. It could be a lot worse. But yeah, it's kind of cool that the second to last boss actually gives you the best shield for Nakajima, though. I think that's a cool detail, and it saves us, you know, the experience of having to grind up for more money. And yeah, I don't know if I've referenced it yet at this point in the playthrough, but you're probably better off not even bothering with the slots machine anymore compared to just doing grinding the old, you know, hard way. Just because the endgame enemies here are going to just give you a lot more experience points and a lot more money at a faster rate than taking your chances getting, you know, winning big at the slots. Maybe that's the secret moral to this game, is that when you when you get to the final dungeon of life, it's not worth taking the time to gamble. You just gotta work hard and do it the old-fashioned way. I'm thinking way too much about how this game treats its gambling minigame, but I don't know. I just think it's hilarious. So yeah, now that we got those two chests here, honestly, those are the two that you really want to look out for, is the Daphne's Crown and the, is it the Mist Armor? See, because I think there's other translations that call it the Fog Armor, which, you know, big difference there, but yeah, as long as you get those two from this floor, you're good to go on to the third and fourth floor. I'm actually gonna look up Mist versus Fog difference. Let's learn something while we're slowly making our way through this final dungeon. A fog is a cloud that reaches ground level, even if that ground is a hill or mountaintop, while mist forms wherever water droplets are suspended in the air by temperature inversion, volcanic activity, or changes in humidity. Interesting. Fog is denser than mist and tends to last longer. Okay. Shoutouts to whatever this website is. Diffin.com? Is this website just all about... It's just all about comparisons and differences. What a unique website. Oddly enough. Also, I do not know for the life of me why certain parts of the map are completed on this floor. I don't know if that's a glitch. I have not been up here, to my knowledge, this playthrough. Yeah, that's really weird. No idea. This is weird. But yeah, this fourth floor is going to be where all of the shops are located. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think in the southeast or the southwest corner you can find the Cathedral of Shadows if you want to go ahead and fuse anything on up here. Armour Shop. Last Armour Shop in the game. And look at those prices. Dear God. Whew. Not fun. So, this does the thing that I don't like in a lot of old RPGs, where this shit is so expensive that by the time you can afford it, I feel like you'll have gained so many experience points that you could probably finish the game without having to worry about it anyways. I actually have the same thing with the final few Megatama that are offered for sale in the final dungeon of Nocturne. At least on... I always play Nocturne on the hard mode, because that's how I like playing that game. But by the end of the game, the prices get so ridiculous, and it's like... I'm only buying these because I want to get every Megatama at the game by this point, but, like, by the time you can afford them, like, your character and the rest of your party is probably so powerful that, like... it's not even worth getting them, or it's like, what use are they, other than I can say I have them, and I have a weird completionist mentality. It doesn't help, too, that, especially with older games like this, really isn't much in terms of, like, post-game content. That really, you know, you don't really start seeing that as a thing until, I feel like, really the PlayStation 2 era. I mean, you do have, like, bonus bosses and ultimate bosses and stuff like that in a lot of PS1 games, but I feel like they were... They felt more like bonuses. Like, I don't really think that... And I think there is, like, kind of a difference there. Like, there's a difference between, like, what... having a few bonus bosses and having a tried-and-true post-game, I feel, in a lot of ways. And a lot of RPGs, especially early on, it was just more like, oh, you know, you can do an absurd amount of grinding and you can fight that cool final boss. But, you know, we're seeing a lot more games these days that have dedicated, like, real big post-game content with a lot of shit to do. Shoutouts to Dragon Quest IX. Which actually is a fun fact, and I don't remember where you can find this, but apparently there's like a thing you can do with your DS or 3DS where you like set your DNS to be a certain address, and then you can still get the downloadable content for Dragon Quest IX through some like weird bootleg way, even though Nintendo Wi-Fi is like no longer a thing. That's pretty cool. I'm happy that apparently the fan community is doing that to keep that content alive, because Dragon Quest IX is an interesting game with a lot of cool post-game quests and stuff like that that were added through DLC. But yeah, I thought they were just kind of lost to time, but nope, you can still get them, so that's cool. Yeah, those enemies are annoying because they like to do a lot of like fire-based group spells and stuff like that. This skeleton is secretly the most important NPC in this game. So now that you know the secret of the urn, or at least you know more about the urn, now we can go back to the actual urn and do stuff with it. You are not allowed to even do anything to that urn until you talk to the skeleton man in the corner of the 4th floor. So we're gonna make our way back there soon, but not right now. We have some other stuff to address before we close out this episode. Yeah, I fought that Mephisto enemy earlier, and I gotta say, don't know if I've ever talked about this before, one of my favorite little pieces of folklore is actually the myth of Dr. Faust, or Faustus, and Mephistopheles. I really like the concept of, like, a Faustian pact. I just think they're really interesting, and it's actually part of the reason why I think I got really attached to Drakengard when I started to learn more about that. Just, I really like that idea of, gaining magical or supernatural power through through sacrificing your soul, or, like, basically writing a really shitty contract to get power. I really find that a fascinating concept, and to a degree, I think Nocturne has a little bit of that going on, even though it's not super... I don't know. I never really got the sense that the Demi-Fiend really fully agrees with, like, oh yeah, make me a Demi-Fiend. It's kind of more just like a, well, shit, guess you gotta sort of deal. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason too why I'm really drawn to, of all the current Dungeons and Dragons classes that are present in 5th edition, really love the Warlock, specifically that, like, Demon Pact one or whatever, where it's like, hell yeah, I have magic powers, but I only really have them because I made a deal with a demon. I think that's cool. And even, not to talk too much about my own shit, but in the bits of world building and like my terrible attempts at fiction writing and stuff like that, I tend to create worlds where, like, humans are, like, innately, like, not spiritual, and the only way they really can, like, get magic powers is, like, if they make a deal with, like, a more powerful, like, supernatural being or something like that. I just find that idea a lot of fun, and I really like the idea of, like, a magical economy or something like that too. But also too, it's a good way to tell stories where consequences are a major factor, and who doesn't love a story with good consequences? And as you may have noticed, there's an Infini Palace sign there, so that means that there must be an entrance to a different area here. And sure enough, on the 4th floor, you can talk to this good old Viking guy, and you can go back to the Sky City of Bien. We're back, and we have another entry point into Infini Palace, and this one's a lot more convenient. So I'll see you next time on Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei.